Hello, everybody. Welcome. Episode 17. I'm so excited. Dames and Dorks. Today we are talking about Dune, if nobody could tell. Or as my dad would say, Marhaba, Kafik, everybody. It's an exciting show tonight. I'm Nadia of the Inside All Day podcast. I'm very excited. We have two special guests today to talk about Dune. Both are very knowledgeable on the books, and I'm very interested to see what their takes are on the movies. I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves. We'll bring on our guests, and then we'll get into it. Again, I'm Nadia for the Inside All Day. Nomi, how are you feeling?
I'm doing really good. I had a little good power nap before hopping on here, and I'm ready to talk about Dune because it's not like I saw it for the second time.
Second time? Not 6 times? Apparently, Lily calling me out on that one. Mags, how are you feeling?
I'm doing okay. Just the usual seasonal headache, allergy mess going on. But I'm here and happy to be here to talk about Dune. So we've got some wonderful guests that we have for everybody here, and I'm ready to engage with everybody in the discussion as well as the chat. So happy to be here.
And Lady Lily, how are you today?
What's up, guys? So I am Lily. You can find me on Twitter, 300 Mirrors. And yeah, I'm super excited for the show. Oh my gosh. I already saw Dune twice also. I'm already planning to go see it a third time because I think it's good. We'll get into it, but I'm excited. These guests are awesome.
And last but not least, Dr. Rachel, how are you today?
I'm good. Been doing a lot of running around, making my new art project. I'll show it off at the end. I think it's coming out really good. Excited to talk about Dune because, like you said, we have some guests here that know a lot about it. I don't know too much. I've seen the movies. I went to see it once in theaters, and honestly, once was enough for me. So it sounds like we have a variety of opinions on the movies, which is why I'm really happy we have so many people here to talk about it.
Well, let's not leave them hanging, right? Let's bring in our guest. We have first Nerd Cookies, Elaine. Thank you for joining us today. You are our expert. If people don't know who you are, where can they find you, and who are you?
Well, yeah, I am Elaine at Nerd Cookies, and thanks for having me. I'm happy to nerd out about Dune with you gals, and yeah, you can find me here on YouTube. I cover a range of sci-fi and fantasy news and lore topics, and you can also find me on social media at Nerd Cookies.
Very good. And your links are going to be in the description, as well as our other guests, which I will bring him on now. Our dork for the night, Shadu. Shadu, if people don't know who you are or where you are, where can they find you? Or who are you?
Shadow, your mic isn't working, honey. It sounds super distorted.
Okay, well, he's
better.
Yes.
Better.
There we go.
I spent $40 on this thing, and it's a lot more useless than my laptop.
Return it. Get your money back.
Yes.
When it works better than my laptop. Howdy, everyone. I'm the Shadow of the Hawk. You can find me mostly on Legion Talk. You can check me out on Twitter, my coffee page, my own channel, as well as a variety of different streams that tolerate me, for lack of a better way to phrase it.
We love you, Shadow.
Yes, we appreciate you.
Don't think yourself less. We actually love you so much, Shadow.
Aww.
We're so excited you're actually on the show with us.
There is a poll going on Inside All Day if you liked Dune 2, so go ahead. And right now we have yes for 45% out of 20 votes, and no, but sandworms are cool. We're going to say hi to the chat, and then we'll get into thoughts about Dune. So we have Dreamblade. I think this is for you, Shadow. We have
howdy, Ralph.
Joe. Hello, Smoo. Nice to see you as always. Danny, hello. Glad for you to stop by. Miss Sassy's in the house.
Hello, everybody.
Which I'm very excited. She asked me to be a permanent on her truly female perspective show, which is really cool. Who else we got? We got Super Soka here for Shadow again.
Super
Yeah.
Soaker
fan
is
club,
really
my guy.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Got
checks
the
it
You
out.
see,
representation
everyone's here
here,
for you.
Break from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh,
Hello,
thank you.
Mando. My husband, wife Algeeb. That's pretty good. Gravy D, as always, love to see you. Trish, hello. Tabitha. I love it. Untamed Mando. We have 2 Mandos in the house. Wow, we've got a lot of people. A lot of people here want to hear about Dune today. That's awesome. Rick.
I think Rick. But hey, Ark.
Thank you.
Rick clearly.
Shadow already knows, but Elaine, I don't speak English very well. The names are very hard for me to pronounce. So, and the chat usually excuses me. Corey, hello, sir. Chu, I was wondering where you were. There we are. And I think that might be everybody. Oh, and we have Soul Assassin. If I miss anyone, I am sorry, but I'm glad everybody's here. Thank you so much for being here. And please smash that like button and share the stream to your friends, your family, even your enemies. Go ahead and send them our way. So let's get into it, right? Let's get into the movie. I assume everybody, I hope, on the panel has seen Dune 2. We will be talking spoilers. So if you have not seen it, I say we'll give a 5 minutes heads up, like do a non-spoiler thoughts on it and then get into spoilers.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just pre-warning, spoiler territory. So I say we let our guests go first. Let's start with Elaine. Elaine, what did you think of both part 1 and 2?
Well, I love Doom Part 1, but yeah, I think my final thoughts with that is there was a few things that I missed. I wish we had more time on Arrakis. Again, release the extended cut. I'm all for that. I just want more of this strange universe because I feel like barely scratched the surface, but really good introduction to this world and these characters, these strong characters. But yeah, Doom Part 2 was brought that to a whole other level as far as the cinematic experience and the pacing. I think a lot of people didn't like. They thought maybe part 1 was a bit slow, and weren't that satisfied with the ending or where they chose to end it. But it seems that everyone pretty much, if you had those issues, likes part 2 better as far as the action, the pacing. It kind of flies by at the end too, that 2-hour 45 runtime. But for me, it just blew me away from I should say first, when I first saw it, I had thoughts. I really struggled through it because of my book brain. I really tried to separate that out and just enjoy it for what it was, that film's experience. But it was, so the second time I was able to do that a lot more. It was great cinematic experience. It really just felt immersed into Arrakis and Getty Prime, and and very powerful performances. But yeah, as an adaptation, that's a completely different rating that I have. It's probably mid when it comes to that. There's just so much that I was missing, and some changes that I'm concerned about moving forward as far as the future of this story goes. But yeah, those are my overall thoughts.
Have you seen the I think it's the 1984 and also the 2000 miniseries of the book adaptation?
Yeah. I've seen both
find
those.
Better by like book brain? Those adapted better than what we've seen in the last 2 years or 3 years?
I think the mini series is my favorite when it comes to a faithful adaptation. I think it does it very well. It does have some changes too, but I feel like there's overall the story beats, I think, is very faithful. It's a cheaper production. Obviously, it's a TV budget on the Sci-Fi Channel, but I think they did very admirably. I think the sandworms looked really good, actually. But everything else, it's very like stage production. The still suits are very cheap, so there's, so it's, if that bothers you, I guess. But the story-wise, it's, I think, the better adaptation. David Lynch's version, it has such a style to it. And yeah, they filmed on location. They built sets and have incredible costumes. So But it also has other things like characters and story beats that other adaptations don't. Like for Hyder DeVries and Yue and Aaliyah, there's so like I feel like each adaptation like brings its own, you know, something special that kind of adds to what Dune is. So maybe together they all make a complete adaptation. But yeah,
Okay.
they all have their pros and cons. But as far as adaptability, yeah, I picked the miniseries first.
I'm working my way through the miniseries right now, so checking it out. But you're right. The budget's not as big as part 1 and 2, obviously, but I think it has a quirky style to it, which I enjoyed. To me, the David Lynch one's a fever dream because of the colors and just the usage of sets and stuff. But I think it still holds up. But all right, Shadu, what did you have you seen part 2? You have, right? That was your homework.
I saw you told me the film in the desert with the worms, so I thought you meant Tremors.
Which is still a good movie.
Which is still good. Yeah,
Yes,
that's true.
love Tremors.
Joking
Cheesy,
aside,
but
I
good.
did see
Awesome
part
movie.
2 on Friday with my brother and my dad, and I can tell they were pissed at me because I'm a book reader. So the entire time, whenever there was like a big change from the books, I was like miffed visibly. I will say as a movie separate, when my first like walk away reaction was a 9 out of 10. Now that I've been able to chew on it, it's about an 8 out of 10. In regards to establishing the world and showcasing the world, I think the film is much better than the book in regards to showing how technology can be used to create a fantastical setting, like the hover suits or some of the way like the different pieces of technology work in the world. Elaine covered a lot of the other stuff pretty well, so I won't repeat that. As a adaptation, however, I do think it is a horrible bastardization of the source material because they alter certain characters in a way that like completely changes the point of the film, or they take one of the core messages, turn it into a club, and then proceed to bash it across the audience's faces until you realize that's the message they're trying to push. So if I'm watching it as a film, I think part 1 and part 2 are amazing as films. If I think they're adaptations, I haven't seen the miniseries, but I've heard it's significantly better. I do think this film is better than the 1984 just because it had more time to work, and it also feels more like the book than 84 feels more like a Cold War type story than a far future story, if that makes sense.
Okay. Very cool. All right. So I guess we'll let the panel now go around, know your thoughts on it. Again, spoiler free. We'll get into spoilers in a few minutes. Nomi, what did you think of it?
I really liked it. I'm going to go see it for the 3rd time on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. So the first time I saw it, okay, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So the first Dune that came out, I was living in Denver and I had just finished snowboarding, and a group of my friends like, yeah, we're gonna go watch it. I was like, oh, can we watch it another day because I'm dead tired. I don't want to fall asleep in the movie. And they're like, no, it's gonna be full of action. You're not gonna fall asleep. You know what happened? I fell asleep. So because I know me very well. If anything's a bet if you try hard enough, that's my motto. But I ended up seeing the first one. I would have loved to have revisited the first one because seeing it last Saturday with my sister and her boyfriend, there were some things I had to remember. Like, okay, like what did I miss? Like there's something like that's not connecting. And then after seeing it the second time, I all those memories came back up again where I'm like, all right, cool. Like now I know where the story's picking up again. So the first time I saw it in a regular theater. And the second time I saw it in IMAX. And the difference between film is crazy because there are so many details I didn't catch, which was, oh my gosh, when Fade saw his brother come in and he's like, what are you doing here? And he like basically shoves him. Oh, no spoilers? Oh, okay.
No spoilers. Yeah, no spoilers.
Somebody heard that. La.
Dang it.
Well, okay, so there's one scene where I'm like, I didn't notice that before in IMAX. So like my eyes were open. And then going with my sister and her boyfriend, they're just film fanatics. They just love cinematic adventures, not knowing the lore of anything. But before we went in on Saturday, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be the final one." It's like, no, it's not. Like, they cannot put the Messiah in the second one, so they're going to build it up for the third one. And then they're like, no, they doubted me. And at the end, my sister's like, well, now I can't wait for 2 or 3 years to pass by so we can see the Messiah. So yeah.
Mags, what did you think?
Oh, let's see here. Well, I definitely enjoyed myself with this one. Of course, I'm giving a caveat. I have not read the books. I know a little bit about the lore through, some of Elaine's videos and other avenues to kind of get the gist of it, to be able to kind of, not jump in completely, not understanding the entire situation. But I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I thought, if you ever break it down to it, I feel like Denis actually captured the scope and scale of the world of Dune as far as the immersion is concerned. I mean, you felt like you were part of this experience, this story. And the work that was done, the meshing between CGI and practical effects was fantastic. It felt very seamless, as opposed to other movies that we've seen. And so the cinematography was just fantastic. I mean, I for me, the immersion part really, like, you have to immerse me into a world or a story for me to really enjoy something. And I think he captured it pretty well with this one. I felt like a lot of the actors did a fantastic job doing their roles accordingly to the direction. I loved Lady Jessica. I loved the different characters involved. But I also think that there's one particular character that the more I mull it over a little bit, I didn't really particularly care for her too much. Lily knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. And it's like, the more you think about it, the more, and I know, like, I've talked about this, on Monday on another stream and everything else, but I feel like there's going to be problems going forward for the third film, especially with this situation. And I felt like the last third felt a little bit rushed, especially the final battle, the fight scene and everything else. And I'm not going to go into too much with that because I don't want to spoil it for everybody. But for me, I enjoyed it. I did not feel bored. I was definitely on the edge of my seat, so for me, as a film, I give it, because I think I gave the first one an 8 out of 10. This one, I gave it a 7 out of 10 because I felt like there were some issues that I'm a little worried about going forward. I felt like the first one was pretty good for the first movie, and then now I'm just a little bit worried about the third one. But it's just, I don't, as far as knowing some of the lore and the surface level stuff that I know, I kind of agree that it's a mid to low type of adaptation because of some of the changes that were made from the original story. So, but for me, like, I enjoyed it. For me, I want to be able to see 1 and 2 together to be able to get the full context of it all, and then go from there to see what the third one's going to be about, because I do have some worries about it. But yes. That's my spoiler-free review as best as I can.
Lily, you saw it like 6 times, right? So
yes, I saw it like 500 times already. So
all right, spoiler-free. What is your just highlight? What did you think?
Okay, so this was my situation. I had never read the books before. After I saw movie 1, I read up to the point in the book. I know I can probably see Elaine like shaking her head, like, "Oh my god." She hasn't read the book. I read up until the point where movie 1 ended, and then I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to know how this ends," so I hadn't read it. I saw part 2 coming out of the theater. I was like, "Oh, this is so cool. I loved it, blah, 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 10 out of 10. Okay, so this past week I finished reading the book, and now it came down to like maybe 9 a 8.5 out of 10 because there are a lot of differences from the book to the movie. There's so many things I wish that they had kept in there, like interactions between a lot of characters that they took out that I think would have made it even a better story. I know, like Elaine had said, part 1, people were like, oh, it's too slow, it's too boring, blah, blah, blah. But that's the thing. Like, it's the interactions between these 2 characters that lead up to everything that's happening in part 2. And there was so much more of that they could have done in part 2. Just like Mags, when I came out, I was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm totally okay with this one character. The second time that I saw it, I was like, I'm starting to not. I'm starting to, like, see what everyone was talking about, and now that the book finished and I saw how the book ends, I'm like, how are they going to bridge what's supposed to come next? Because I kind of looked it up a little bit and spoiled it for myself, and they wrote themselves into a corner. Like, what are you doing? And now I'm like, oh, but just like visuals, beautiful, outstanding. I saw it in IMAX. It's the only way to watch it. Acting amazing. Like, I'm gonna give it to Timothy Chalamet. I'm gonna give it to Austin Butler, of course. Lady Jessica.
Wait. She said the key words. She said the key word. There you go. For you.
Don't get her hyped up this early.
No, hold on.
Don't worry. There wasn't any of like the fighting gifts. She's not hyped up yet.
Yeah.
She's not into the fighting gifts.
I got
Shadow.
one more.
Don't give Nadia ideas.
But no, the acting was incredible. Like, the entire cast, like Javier Bardem, Josh, everyone did their part the way that they're supposed to. And I think that, like, Denis is turning into one of my favorite directors. Like, it's amazing.
If I can echo off of you, Lily, because yes, I saw Dude 2 for the second time on Monday. The next day, I saw Wonka, and the difference between Timothée Chalamet and Wonka to Dune 2 is like unfathomable, because he like delivered in Dune 2, and Wonka just like, he was like a dork. I did not like him. He was just like
I mean,
he can't play.
He's a nerd in real life too.
He's a nerd in real life, but he can't play a dorky character. That's what I discovered. That's where I came to my conclusions with Timothée Chalamet. He can do a dramatic performance, but when it comes to dorky stuff, like being goofy as Wonka, as Willy Wonka, he missed it for me.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see Wonka. I have no desire. The original is like a classic to my heart. Gene Wilder too. I cannot see anybody surpassing him or coming close to it. I hated the Johnny Depp adaptions. I thought those were garbage. So I'm glad I didn't see Wonka. I saw the spoiler review of it and I'm like, oh, good. I don't have to go see it. Dr. Sandworm, what were your spoiler-free thoughts on it?
Sorry, I felt like we just had to go for some change of names
It's
here.
okay.
My thoughts, and I will preface this by saying I also have not read the books. I thought about reading them when I was going to see the first movie in theaters, which I fell asleep during twice. So,
so you are. I think you and I are on the same boat.
So you can relate.
Yeah, we can definitely relate. And it's been so long since I saw the first one that I ended up watching it on 2x speed right before going to see part 2. And I gotta say, that really helped with the pacing and keeping me awake. Watching Dune part 1 on 2x speed definitely helps. And it's funny watching the characters like walk like this. But yeah, so going into this one, I thought it was going to be a pretty good movie. I thought I was going to really like the visuals. I thought I'd be able to follow most of the story. And I did. I thought the movie was okay. I probably would rate it like a 6 out of 10. So I don't know much about the lore going in. I've watched a lot of lore videos, and of course I will have to shout out my boyfriend's channel, Hollywood Scholar. He did a video with Adam the Renaissance Nerd, some lore stuff, and he's really into the lore, so that was a really good video. And he's done a couple other videos about Dune, but just in general, I thought some of the characters were great. Some not so much, particularly Christopher Walken absolutely phoned in his
Poor
entire performance.
Yeah.
Um,
There.
my
I
thing
agree
was
with
just
this.
more like the story. Just in some parts felt very rushed, and some characters I was not thrilled with. But in general, I loved Paul's character and Timothy's acting with that character, really great. Austin Butler, also another great character. And of course, visually is great. And I did not fall asleep during this one, so so I have to give it props for that. But yes, costumes look good. Loved the sets, the location. Again, visuals were great. Just the story and pacing and plot just fell flat for me. And also the dialogue. I know there's been some controversy about the director saying he hates dialogue. It should not be in films. And he wanted to do a movie where there was absolutely no dialogue. And yet for someone who hates dialogue so much in films, there's a lot of dialogue in this movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, Jed and I were poking fun at that throughout the entire movie.
I want to get into spoiler territory, especially since Elaine is with us for a short amount of time. So I want to get into that. Mine, just really quick. I did not see part 1 in IMAX, and I truly regret it. I wanted to read the book when it was announced. The book took some time for me because I am one that marks the book and reads it back. So I absolutely think the book's great. I would like to continue the series. I thought 1 was fantastic. It lived up to the hype that everybody had talked about. When I went to go see 2, however, and I went to go see it in Dolby, not IMAX, visually beautiful. I think especially one particular scene, and it's not spoilers, the Harkins going kind of hovering up a cliff. I thought like my heart like dropped. Just the tone of it, the color, great. Like on a technical level, this movie is a 10 out of 10 for me on everything. It's true cinema. However, I think the time jumps, the editing choices, and some changes from the book. Well, I wouldn't even say changes from the book, just time jumps and editing. If for someone who's maybe never read the book, I think were a little weird. I felt that certain scenes started and then they were going somewhere, and then you time jump to something else, and they never closed up that scene. I would love to see both part 1 and 2 back to back because it's one big movie, but I think I will wait for streaming for that. On that note, this is your spoiler territory. We will go into spoilers now. So if you are in the chat, you have not seen it, you don't want spoilers, catch the replay after you see it. Come back and watch the replay. Elaine, since you are limited time with us, go into your full spoiler, like everything. Let's do an open discussion about it. Everybody kind of chime in, but please, I want you to lead with your thoughts on it.
Well, I'll start with what I liked the best. I loved the Harkonnens and Getty Prime. I liked Lady Fenring. I like that the whole sequence. It was so cool the way they did the black sun, and how it had that monochrome look. And before, when I saw the trailer, you saw the black and white, and you just didn't. I didn't really know what that meant. If that was just for the arena, is some sort of Harkonnen custom, because black and white has something to do with the fight itself, because Fade fights with a white and black blade, white for poison, black for purity, I believe. Of course, his were switched, so but still. So that was really neat. Just the whole world was bathed in this. That's what the daylight looks like. So I thought that was a really cool creative choice. And Austin Butler killed it. But my biggest issues come with they're condensing like almost 3 years at this point in time into 6 months. So there's so much that's missing. And they really did streamline it. I thought they streamlined it almost too much in part 1. So if I felt like that in part 1, it's just 100 times more. But I feel like a lot of people who haven't even read the book felt that same way too. But and if you had read it, it just even more, even more so, you'd feel that there was just so much missing. You could feel that there was stuff missing. I think at times everything was just the first half was not so bad, but last half, yes, it had those issues. You felt like there were pieces missing.
Yeah,
I agree with you. It's that's my biggest problem, where when they sent him off to walk the desert, there was no end cap to that. Like, yes, he meets Shani, he's with her, like there's dialogue there, but he never goes and comes back. So where is that going? Like there's certain scenes that they just time jump and they expect you just to forget about it or just continue to move on with the story.
Threw me off because they went from that scene straight to like the attack, right? It was like an attack.
No, you saw it 6 times. You tell me.
I'm like, trying to remember because it took me out of it because I was like, wait, weren't we just like doing this thing and then all of a sudden now we're here? Like, what happened?
There was like so it was they were doing like the walk. She was teaching him how to walk like an Egyptian, and then she went to and she was teaching him how to use like the wind farm things, which I don't remember if they explain how you use those wind traps, like what they're for.
I think they.
And then I think as she's explaining how to use the wind traps, then you get like the cut to them with the attack.
Yes, and that's what threw me off because I was like, how did this? So what happened?
Yeah, it's some weird cuts. Mm-hmm.
That was a weird edit. Yeah, that one threw me off. But the second time that I saw it, I was like, well, now I'm expecting it. Now it's not so jarring. But yeah, some of those edits were a little weird.
Yeah. And because sorry.
Oh, so I was just gonna say, keep in mind that French name, however you pronounce it, is a French director. They do make different. They do different things with films. It's more about the journey rather than like if you enjoy the journey, it doesn't really matter how the film is made or even how the ending is going. It's just so long as you enjoy what's happening. Sorry to cut you off, Elaine.
No, it's fine. Yeah, Villeneuve is he's subtle at times in his storytelling, and like Dr. Sandworm, said before, he obviously has a more visual. He wants to convey something visually if he can, as opposed to exposition. So I feel like The Water of Life, in that regard, I was expecting that to be one of the most visually stunning parts of the film, actually, because it's so trippy in the book. It's just all taking place in Jessica's mind. So the possibilities were limitless, and I was really excited to see his imagination work within that. And so I was a bit disappointed at first because I built up that expectation, and it just seemed to breeze by so fast. But there were some things that I noticed the second time around that I just didn't catch the first time, which was the blue liquid coming into Aaliyah's embryo as the fetus, and her eyes open and they're blue. We don't get the full context of what's happening to her. And that's another one of my issues. There's characters that had to be changed. Jessica and Aaliyah were kind of fused together to because Aaliyah grows up to a toddler age at the end. So that didn't happen. Again, they had to condense everything and streamline everything. And that's one of the sacrifices that they made.
Yeah. And then I was actually talking to Lily about this the other day, that when Lady Jessica was becoming Reverend Mother, and at the end we're like, oh my gosh, what have we done? Because they found out that she's pregnant. Wouldn't they, if they're all seeing, wouldn't they have already known that she was pregnant?
Yeah, and they never really say what the problem is.
Yeah,
I know what the problem is, but
that's what leaves me off. That's what leaves me off.
Explain it, yeah, because when you get to that part in the book, they actually tell you it's because she's pregnant and they accidentally created another Reverend Mother in the womb.
Yeah.
So they don't explain that to you in the movie, and you're just kind of like when the old
have to
Reverend
assume
Mother,
it almost.
Yeah, when the old Reverend Mother goes, "What have we done?" You're like, "I don't know. What did you do?"
You tell me, dude. You made me drink the worm juice.
It's good to have those. Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
It's good to have. No worries. It's just good to have those visuals, like you're saying. But it felt like if you want to explain a story with visuals instead of dialogue, great. But you need to do it right. Like something like that would have been better with some explanation rather than just visuals. So it just felt like you were at times they were explaining the wrong things with dialogue. Dialogue is great. You don't have to overuse it. It often gets overused. You can absolutely explain things with visuals, but you need to do it right. you can't just have a visual and say, oh, well, if you didn't get it, then, you know, you're done.
I don't think Villeneuve knows. I think he's too scared of like exposition dumps, or he feels scared of alienating the general audience. So,
but I
Yeah.
feel there's a particular type of person that's going to go see this movie. Yes, it's cinematically on a technical level, it's great for anybody to go in. It's a great sci-fi film, both of them. But I when it was announced, I think that people who love Dune or who love the books or the miniseries or even the Lynch series, that's who the audience was going to be to fill in those seats. And I would wonder if this would have been a better adaptation if instead of 2 parts, we split it to 3 parts.
Yes.
Get a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
agree.
more of the
Yeah.
book.
No, it
into-
absolutely would have been, because you would have had like an extra 30 minutes. Like if you remove the Battle of Arakeen, there's enough content there to make its own movie, kind of like Battle of Five Armies, badly done, but Battle of Five Armies in The Hobbit. You could have made that its own movie, or they did. Same thing with this. You spend those 30 minutes to tie up some of the loose ends and add some of the plot lines back. Like they completely cut the fact that the Harkonnens were trying to kill each other, and that was part of why they were being destabilized.
Yeah.
Or like you could have also spent 5 of those minutes with Jessica like speaking to the Reverend Mother in her head, because remember, the Reverend Mother is a young girl dancing in that scene because that's how she perceives herself. And you could have like the conversations occurring and then realizing what have we done as like actual dialogue, with like, like it's silent and they're just like moving around and exploring and seeing like the Reverend Mother's life. And then there's like a third presence and they realize there's a child here. She's getting all this information as well. What do we do? And then you could have had some other stuff mixed in that really like a more time with Paul and Chani bonding, maybe some more detailed fights, like rating the different stuff, some explanations into certain things, and then set up the final with the whole like I am Lisan al-Gaib, Fade Routha consolidating his position. And then the third film is 30 minutes of build up for the fight, storming the outer valley, storming the city, and then the confrontation with the Emperor and Fade Routha as the final 30 minutes. You could have made a full 2-hour movie that's just action after this 2-hour movie of setup. And I think that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that made me mad after I finished reading the book too is that they cut out a character that was in Dune 1, Hawat. And yes, he had so much going on in the book. And then it actually came out that Denis cut his scenes out of the movie. And I was even more upset about that because I was like, so you guys actually filmed them and then you decided to cut it out. I'm like, that made me even more mad because I was like, there's so much going on. Like for me, not just because it's Fade Routha or whatever, but there was so much story going on with the Harkonnens too. Like you get that they're
You said it.
Like you get that they're the bad guys, right? But like Shadow said, they're also like fighting with each other because there's always like this power struggle of who's gonna end up taking over. They all want to be like not just Baron, but they want to be like the freaking Emperor. So they didn't give us any of that. They just seem like a dysfunctional family that you're like, oh, ha, 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 ha. They're just fighting with each other. And it's like, no, like they literally want to kill each other. Like, and we didn't get any of that.
I mean, there was.
Oh, sorry. I just want to say, I want to bring it back to Dr. Rachel's point. I think Christopher Walken was a poor choice in casting. That's just my 2 cents.
No, I agree.
But go ahead. Whoever was
for people, just a question on that though. Like for people who know the books, know the lore, know it, who would you have cast for that role? I'm curious.
Any other white guy.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
my mic just unplugged for some reason. My original fan casting was Mads Mikkelsen, but I don't know if that would be my same choice. He feels like kind of overused, I think, at this point. Or I don't know. You just see him everywhere. But that was when I was first thinking about it. Someone who looked younger, he should, I think he's around that age, like 70, 80, but he's supposed to look half his age because of the spice. He's supposed to look more youthful. And I just, every time he opened his mouth, I just heard Christopher Walken. It was it kind of took me out of it.
If he kept his mouth shut the whole time, been fine. I would have been okay.
Here's the thing, like I liked it when Christopher Walken, I think that was his most Christopher Walken performance when he's questioning. He's like, "Oh, so did you check this out? More, tell me more." That was the best Christopher Walken I ever got. Yeah, that was the best I ever got from Christopher Walken. Yes, I don't agree that he was like the greatest choice, but I'm like, at least I got that.
I also feel that part 2 they played down the whole concept of spice and stuff a lot. Like it did not come up as much as part 1. It's almost like it didn't matter in part 2 until the end. Obviously, when Paul was like, "Hey, we're gonna destroy all the spice if you don't, in a sense, like bow down to me." This is like very choppy highlighting it, but I thought they really played it down. Where part 1, obviously, it's more about the spice and the production of it.
Yeah. They breathe by that, the ecological themes. And that's a huge thing where the spice comes from, and knowing the environment is such a huge part of the story. So, yeah, I don't know what he was thinking in that regard, or if he's going to plan to do it later in part 3. But it definitely feels missing.
He said in an interview that he wanted to focus more on the Bene Gesserit, so he set back a little bit on the Mentats and I think it was the Spacing Guilds. He said, and as to like not mentioning the spice, talking about the spice would have to discuss politics and economics and a lot of that stuff. And frankly, I feel like this movie was sterilized. The book's content was sterilized for the film to appease an American audience. Like I mentioned previously, one of the central themes of how religion can be a controlling factor for a society is turned into a blunt object and smacked across the person's face. It's outright said by Zendaya multiple times through the film. A lot of the Harkonnens, like their internal fighting is cut out and they're a unified front. A lot of like Paul's plans for becoming Lisan al-Gaib, because in the book he wants to actively take control of the Fremen, not for the whole jihad part, but to retake Arrakis as its duke. They remove that. They make him the unwilling messiah, because that is a trope that Americans are more comfortable with. We do not like warlords in the States because power. We don't like power and that type of stuff.
Well, and
so,
also, sorry, Shadow.
I was just going to finish with, I think that's why they like devalued the spice, because to go into the spice would have to explain interstellar shipping. It would have to explain the politics of the different houses, and most Americans, they don't want that in a sci-fi film. They want action. Sorry, Nomi.
Yeah, no. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like Florence Pugh's character, she also described it too when she's in the like garden talking to her dad, Christopher Walken, where, you know, if we kill Paul, like, no, like if you kill a prophet, he makes him, you know, you're making him stronger. So she's like arguing with him about what you're just saying too. Like, it just brings in like religion does control people. You have to like instill the fear in them, and then they will come and follow you and, you know, worship you as the God that you are.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, on that same front though, they didn't have to have Chani like beat you over the head with it. We could already see the effect that's happening with Stilgar, where it mentions it in the book, and you can see it in the movie too, where Paul says something in the book like that he no longer has his friend, it's a worshiper now, or something like that. I don't know the exact quote.
He's
so
no
like
longer a friend.
Yeah, like you don't have to beat the audience over the head with it. We saw it happening. So yeah, that was a little, when she said that, she was like, no, that's how you control the people. I was like,
well, that's true, because like when they're in like their little cave temple and they're praying, this is before Paul walks in and he goes like crazy and just like, this is who I am. But like how the elders are telling like, well, in order for you to speak, you have to have your place in here. So you have to take his role in order to speak. And like, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the character's name. Javier Stilgar. There we go. Stilgar. He's like, he willingly gave it to him. He's like, yeah, here you go. Just go ahead and kill me. You can have a voice. Like, no, dude. Like, and then, how you said he lost a friend. He now has a worshiper. So the worshiper was willing to, the worshiper was willing to give him like, I will kill myself in the sacrifice of like the religion that was created.
Yeah, and
I do have a question for Aileen and Shadow, because you both have book knowledge. Lily too. There has been
not like that.
I know there has been a discussion. I think people have misinterpreted of Paul being the white savior, right, of the Freeman, which I obviously, with reading the books and stuff, I find it as a warning tale of not following a messiah, like not a fake religion, but the power of faith and putting things in people's heads, and like I don't know where I'm
Avoiding a
going,
cult of
but anyway,
personality.
yeah. What do you both think of this? Like, should people just pick up the book and just realize he's not actually a white savior to the freemen?
Yeah, well, he's not a savior, and anyone who was spouting that was just speaking out of ignorance. That the Fremen have lived among the Bene Gesserit religious manipulation. I mean, they seeded prophecies like thousands of years before the events of Dune. It's been a part of their life and culture for generations and generations. So there was that, but also Paul never had Paul. Yes, Paul. Sorry, lost my thought. Frank Herbert wanted to create a hero, someone that you want to root for, and that was the crux of his theme, was that to not trust or blindly put faith in charismatic leaders, and because they can make decisions with the Norman's power that can have consequences that could affect billions of people. So that's literally what it is. It's far from the savior story. So anyone who was spouting that was just looking at it very base, like, and not seeing what the theme actually was, or just didn't finish reading it, or didn't actually see what was going on. Because this is Paul's not, he's like the anti-hero, and I feel like it's very clear in the story too. Like there's this thing going around where even Villeneuve keeps saying it, that Frank Herbert wrote Dune Messiah because people misconstrued the first book. But I haven't been able to find that specifically, that's why he wrote it, because it's also very clear in the first book. I'd never had any question when I read it whether what Paul was, that he is just an imperfect, he's swept up in this destiny that he can't control. So yeah, I don't know what was up with why people could misconstrue it. It's literally like half of the story. He's trying to fight that destiny. He wants to prevent the jihad, but he's just, at the end of the day, can only choose which future will cause the least amount of damage. It's not a happy tale. It's not.
No, it's not at all. I agree with you. It's not everybody, I think it also comes from a lot of people who look at 2024 social issues or culture issues or whatever you want to call it, and then try to base it off of what they see on the movie, and not actually go and read the book and realize what he was trying to convey, and his history too, right? Of how he came across to write. I mean, the guy took a lot of drugs too, like a lot of drugs to get there too, as well. But I think it's a little bit of ignorance too, just to base it off just watching part 1 and part 2 of it. Any other thoughts, Lily, Shadow? I know you read the book. Max, did you read it? I don't remember.
No, I have not read the book.
Right.
So.
Okay.
I do want to bring up the point that I'd heard the same thing about Frank having written Messiah to tie up that point. I do disagree with Elaine that it was not possible, because this is one of my favorite books ever, Starship Troopers, and people since its inception continue to misunderstand what's in the context of it, because they are applying their own worldview and their own lack of knowledge in complicated topics. So for a person who has very little knowledge of things like philosophy, politics, economics, things of those nature, they may pick up Dune and they may read guy from a planet that's themed off Spain goes to planet themed off the deserts of Arabia and saves these people from evil colonizers. And if they lack the ability to notice the deeper themes of this is not white guy comes in, this is messianic figure manipulates population to achieve personal gains, they're not going to recognize the overarching themes. And that's not necessarily that reader or that viewer's fault in the case of the films, because if you don't know what to look for, then you won't be looking for it. But again, that's another problem with the film, is they wanted to avoid the whole like having to think about things. So they wanted to make it very clear for the audience that Paul isn't trying to be a white savior. He actively rebukes being Lisan al-Gaib, until he drinks magic water that changes how he thinks. And now you can have the protagonist do what he does in the books without the director seemingly articulating that there needs to be a white savior for the story to work. It's sterilization for the American mind, because most Americans don't spend time thinking about these things. Again, that's not a... There's more important things to think about than economics, politics, and philosophy for a story about space worms.
Well, and also for everybody on the panel, Elaine, Shadow, everybody, what is your favorite part of the film that was somewhat decently adapted from the book? Is there a favorite part that you enjoyed? Don't go all at once.
Me first.
Elaine, go.
Well,
I'm going to put you on the spotlight. Go for it.
About it.
We'll go with the book nerds first.
That they changed, or just a part that I liked? That
You
as far
liked,
as-
like, yeah,
Oh.
just it might not be a true adaptation, but you kind of, you enjoyed that. It read pretty well for you. Like, you were satisfied with that scene or part of the movie.
Yeah. Well, I think Paul's journey, for the most part, was adapted very well, and I think that was the most important element to get right. I felt the same way with part one, and I was so happy that they focused on something like his friendship with Duncan, and I felt like that added so much depth to the story. But Duncan was always kind of pushed to the side in adaptations, but he was so significant to the events of how they unfolded on Dune. And so I was so happy that, and also in the future, and that is my one little thing that I'm holding on to as far as the future of Dune goes with Dune Messiah, how well they did with Duncan and establishing that friendship with him and Paul. So I'm happy with that, but also continuing that into part two. And while there are things I wish could have been more subtle, again, I think a lot of stuff was just changed just to streamline events. Like after the halfway point, we're just like going full force. We got to wrap things up and finish this thing. So it's, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was changed. Other characters streamlined, like Jessica and Aaliyah were kind of fused together. In my opinion. So we'll see how it turns out with Aaliyah in the future. But all of that was to convey the core theme of the story of Dune, which is the rise of this anti-hero in the end. This starting off with this good kind of traditional good versus evil tale with Paul against the Harkonnens and revenge for his father and his house, and then morphing into what can happen when people just fall in love with this charismatic leader, and when power comes to him, the consequences that could result from that. So I think that at the very least that was the main theme that he was able to convey. And like you were saying, Shadow, that I think some things were streamlined for general audiences specifically in mind. So, of course, the book readers will understand it, but for everyone to really get the core, strike to the heart of Frank Herbert's story, I think they did a really good job with that. And again, his antagonist, Fade, I think he was very well done and acted. So I was very pleased with that.
Anytime. I'm running out of them, though. I've got like maybe one left.
Oh, just keep reusing them.
Yeah.
Keep reusing them.
Easy go.
It's all good. We can say multiple times.
Panel, Lily, you've read the book. Ladies, you've seen the movie. What was there a part that really stuck out to you from either part one or part two?
For me, it was probably the fight scenes. I mean, I know I just said earlier that I wanted more, of the dialogue between all the, but like I was kind of having this discussion with Shadow the other day that I don't know if it's because, well, he kind of explained it to me, that a lot of the fight scenes in the book, I feel not that they're not written well. It's just, I'm not sure if he's a strong writer in fight scenes or whatever, but like the fight between Fade and Paul, so much better in the movie. I think the arena one maybe was a little bit. No, actually, I like the one in the book better. But no, for sure, the one between Paul and Fade, like it was so much better in the movie. Like in the book, I was kind of like, shut up, Fade, stop talking and fight. Like, what are you doing? Like, he filled it with dialogue instead of with like actions. So to me, it was great to see actually like the fight scenes and actually when they start to like attack and see that on the screen versus reading it in the book. Because I mean, I'm comparing it to writers like Tolkien, like Martin, who write a lot of fight scenes, and I just don't think that it's kind of like translated the same. So to see it on screen like that was probably some of my favorite parts of what they adapted better than the book, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Oh, I like the sandworm ride too. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, I was gonna say
That was
that.
good.
Oh, Lane.
So cool.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm gonna say this.
I
Go
love
ahead.
that's probably one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Timothy acting his part as Paul and getting on to this the sandworm, and it was the Mac Daddy one too, and it was
Yeah,
like
the grandfather worm.
I know, I was like
Yep.
that was so. I mean, I know they probably Elaine, you could probably correct me here, in Shadow as well. I think they've explained that there is a way to get on the sandworms, but the visual part of it and how thrilling it was, and also I felt very high stakes of it too. It really captured the moment of how powerful these sandworms are and how threatening they are, and that was just, it was like you could feel the, like, even the audience that I was sitting with in theater watching the IMAX, like everybody was like, you could feel it in the air, like everybody was like, oh my, like waiting in anticipation. And that was one of my favorite scenes in this bit. So
Yeah. They really made it seem like a force of nature. It was
Yes.
very, yeah.
Yep.
yes,
Love that.
Yes.
Like, so this is just me. Like, I like to think outside of the box a lot. And when they're writing the worms, I was like, dang, this is like cowboy stuff. Like, you know, cowboys go out there, wrangle the horses, and they tame them. And, you know, I just thought of like, well, worm riding is like PBR, professional bull riding, but for worms.
Well, it's never really explained from what I remember in the book how they actually ride the worms, correct?
No,
they
it's yeah,
Is it?
extensively.
No.
Mhm.
I can't
Explain,
remember.
yeah.
It's been like 2 years since I've read it.
There's a whole chapter where like Paul is like finally hopping on the worm, and it's like normally we do this when we're 12, but you're a late bloomer, so just do this, nothing fancy, watch out for the drum sand. And I think the film, because you know it's visual, is able to capture that scene a lot better than the book, but it does explain how they ride the worms and stuff like that. What they don't really explain very well is how they got Jessica on one of those damn things.
Yep.
Oh, with
I was wondering that.
With the palanquin or whatever it's called. Because like, I'm sorry, but I don't care how good Fremen engineering is. That thing, you're not getting that on. You're not getting a pregnant woman on one of those damn things without a miscarriage.
That's why they said their Reverend Mother wasn't going to survive the trip. That's probably why she wasn't gonna. She's just too old to
That makes
to
sense.
make it.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Gotcha.
that's
So.
true. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
And
can, once they hook onto it. Let's see. Someone will hook onto it and they'll control it, and then everyone else will eventually come onto the sandworm gradually, and they all help steer.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I like that they showed those little nostrils looking thing under the skin.
Yes, that was kind of interesting, like vents or something, like little.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what causes the worm to turn. That keeps it from going under the sand again. That keep it up.
Ah, see, that
So-
could have been
Keep it up.
that could have been explained a little bit, because like for me, who's, of course, you know, I had not read the books, and you guys know all the finer details of it all, but it's interesting because I was like, what is that for? Because my thought was, because I'm thinking in horse terms, like, is that their ability, like if you move them one way or another, or move a scale up or something like that, like does that cause them to like turn or shift or something? That's what I was thinking, but I didn't realize that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's,
So
it's pain reinforcement. The worm
Yeah.
needs to adjust itself in order to go in the direction, in order to alleviate the pain being caused by the writer.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's not explained in the books. That's
And
my
then-
personal interpretation of the film.
I have
Yeah.
a question
I agree.
for Elaine and Shadow. What did you guys think of the Dune popcorn bucket?
Oh
I think
It's cursed.
All right.
And I
was
don't
shown
have
a
one.
meme. I was shown a meme by a friend that I'm not going to repeat due to the company on this panel, but it's
Thank you, Shadow, for being a gentleman.
I was gonna
let me just
say, you
that
can
my
say it,
dad
Shadow.
would not let my brother purchase one of those because of the Twitter discussions about it.
We know what you're talking about, Shadow.
Yeah.
But we appreciate
we
you
get
being a gentleman to us ladies. Thank you.
Well, no,
I-
because
Does it even work?
I mentioned the name of the stream to my dad, so if he hops on and sees me being vulgar, I'm gonna be getting a freaking beating. So
Oh no.
Yeah.
I personally still kind of want one because I crochet and I watched one of my friends put the yarn in there and pull the yarn to crochet out of it.
Mm,
Yeah, Carolyn
clever.
did
Tara
that.
did it. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. Anyway, okay. Dune Bar back to back to the actual sandworms. Where do you guys think the third movie might do you think obviously the adaptation is not going to be close to the book, right? Because of look how part 1 and part 2. Where do you think part 3 is going? Or movie 3?
I have not read Messiah yet, but I would have to assume, based on the fact that there were elements sterilized, they're probably going to have to either make the film about how Paul is a villain, which isn't, seeing as he wins, you can't really like do that route very well because the American audience isn't going to like that, or they're going to have to somehow make his actions justified. Like every other house is just as bad as the Harkonnens or something like that, or every other house was just waiting to join him or something like that. But again, I haven't read. I've got Messiah. I just also got the Drizzt books at the same time, so I'm still having to like read it.
Well, so I don't want to give too much away with what because since you haven't read it, and it's actually a lot of people's favorites.
Really?
In the Dune saga.
Huh.
So my biggest concern or issues, I guess, with Dune Part 2 were the things that were changed that will alter the story moving forward. And well, one of the things that was the lack of world building. So we didn't have the Spacing Guild come in at the end, and which seemed kind of baffling to me because they were the ones transporting everyone. All of the great houses and the emperor himself could not have arrived on Arrakis without the Highliner to transport them there. So I thought that was kind of just that fact in and of itself. It's like, why weren't they there? They couldn't just arrived by themselves. That's the whole point. They have the monopoly on interstellar travel, and that's why they, which is connected to the spice, which they did say in part 1. The Spacing Guild uses the spice to foresee safe paths through space. But because of that, they wield immense influence in the government. So they just want the spice to flow. They really don't care who rules over Arrakis as long as the spice flows. But with the threat of that, in the hands of someone else's control, yes, they would have been there. And the Spacing Guild has a huge part to do with Dune Messiah as far as the story goes. So I'm worried that we're not going to, if he's shown such hesitancy with world building so far, and as he said with the Mentats before, why we didn't see Thufir was because it was a Bene Gesserit adaptation. There's like a whole other faction that arrives too in Dune Messiah that's very obscure and very strange. And again, it's like, how are you going to have these other factions play such a huge part when we haven't even seen even a glimpse of the Mentats and the Spacing Guild? These, I get it, it's a Bene Gesserit adaptation, but you're kind of weakening the Bene Gesserit when you don't show these other factions and to get a better idea of the influence that they themselves hold. So that's my biggest concern, is just the lack of world building so far and how it will play a factor in the story moving forward. So I don't know. I can't foresee.
Yeah, that's true, right? It could, it potentially could not be made, right? It might be a couple years before we see it. I doubtful, because looking at box office numbers, I think 3 is probably going to be greenlit as long as it's a strong story, based off the movies, not based off the book. But yeah, I'd be very intrigued to see how they play it out, since they kind of took a little bit of everything and kind of went their own way with part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, I mean, and Chani's also a big deal too. I'd say that's the second biggest issue moving forward. Well, probably the first one if I'm ranking them. But
I don't
Yeah.
get the Zendaya thing. Listen, everybody, if you love her, go for it. I don't get the hype. I enjoyed her in Euphoria. I thought she was good, but I one of my friends said it, and I was like, yeah, the part one, it looks like she's in a perfume commercial half the time.
Yeah.
And she
Which
only
was
has like
fine. I prefer that
look,
version, I
which
guess.
is 100% okay because she wasn't the main character of the story.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
yeah, so that's why
Well,
I love
she
Zendaya,
has like
but
3 looks.
I loved that she was only in it for 5 minutes. Like I love her, but like she wasn't the main character. That's what I loved about the first one. But in the second one, I think she's just too much. I mean, that's Johnny's character, just the drama queen, and she delivered it to my appointment.
Isn't
I
that's
don't
not
find
Tony's
Shawnee,
character?
yeah, in the books whatsoever. I think Shawnee's the complete 180 from a lot of the characters from the book. Like she's Paul's ride or die. Like whatever, she is there. Like there's she's this version of her, this very it's not bad, but again, I feel I don't know.
she's modern.
Zendaya just to me has
Yeah.
like 1 or 2 stares the
modern.
whole entire movie, and it just doesn't convey to me that she's in love. It doesn't convey to me that she's his ride or die. But what do you think, Shadow, Elaine? Because you both, Lily, you both all three read the books as well.
Yeah. She's a modern interpretation of the character of Chani. In the book, Chani is not only she's not only like Paul's like first interaction with a woman romantically. She's not just like the person that she's also the mother of his child. Chani is a tempering force for Paul as he's growing into a man and becoming a warlord and she is what binds him. She's what balances him. Literally, like when so the whole vision thing, it's a lot more impactful before he drinks the water. There are points where he will like see things that he cannot get his bearings. She is his anchor into the present world. She bears his child. I already said that point, so I apologize. It's an allegory for the fact that women in history and in the modern age balance out the savage nature of men. A point that's brought up in the book that's not really brought up well in the film is men have the power to destroy, I think, and then women have the power to see, or something to that. Elaine is probably able to quote it better than I can. There's it's like the reason the water of life kills men, because it unlocks a part of the body that women are able to access that men are not able to access. That is Chani's role. She is to balance Paul as he goes through this transition into Lisan al-Gaib, but also serves as sort of a Geiger counter. In the book, their child is brutally killed by the Sardaukar when they raid the siege that he had been in. Chani is distraught. Paul doesn't seem to care because he knew it was going to happen, because it needed to happen. And by making her into Zendaya girl boss, you lose all that. Instead of her being the counterbalance for Paul, she is a Zendaya character. She is a modern woman, which for the way the film went, it's fine. But for an adaptation of Dune, it's a bastardization of an interesting character to appease modern values.
Yeah, it's I'm very sad what happened to her character. I love, people think it's just a simplistic the way she was written, to just be in love with Paul, for them just to be star-crossed lovers, and like you were saying before, just ride or die. I think that's profound, and it has a profound role in the novel. Like you were saying, while he's in the throes of prescience and he can't control it yet, and all of these, he's seeing all of these different futures and different he's just caught in the chaos of this. She's what grounds him, and she's what keeps him tethered to humanity, and what his ultimate goal is, to try to pick the best future for humanity, even though it's wrought with death and chaos. But she's the one bright spot in his life of what this is, of this turmoil and stuff he can't control. So it's a beautiful part in the book, and she's incredibly strong as written as well. She's multidimensional. I love that she serves as this warrior priestess. They cut the priestess part of her character out completely, and to make her the vocal skeptic and his lover, which I think was a mistake, because we just don't get why she loves him. I don't, at a certain point, I maybe got it. As the story continued, I don't see how she's in love with this man for how she was depicted in the book anymore, and especially so as the story continued towards the end. So I don't see how she's still in love with him at that point anymore. And it's very sad. So I don't know how this is gonna reconcile moving forward.
Yeah, like how is like her character has changed so drastically to the point like how are they even going to get, because they have to get back together at some point. It's like what is that going to look like? So that's
unless they write her out and make Princess Arulin the mother of his children, which I don't know how that would change things, but that would probably change things considerably.
I doubt they would write out Zendaya.
They definitely won't.
Yeah.
How do they bring her back in without it being contrived and stupid?
Yeah,
It's the reason why they pushed Dune 2 out. It's because of the strike, because she has her and Florence have probably I know Zendaya is the biggest, but the biggest following, social media following, and they wanted to utilize that for promoting the film, and because of the strike they couldn't do so. So that's why partially why they pushed Dune out to this year post strike, so that they could utilize her, because she is such a huge following.
She's a huge influence, and like I said earlier, my sister and her boyfriend, they love cinematic adventures. They don't do their research, they don't read the books, they don't know anything. They're like, oh, that just looks like a cool movie that's coming out, we want to see it. My sister loves Zendaya, so one of the reasons why she went to go see Dune was because of Zendaya, because of her influence, her following, because she has a good stylist that keeps her up. She has a head on her shoulders. She's very stern in who she is as an actress, where she draws the line in what she tells production companies what they want from her. Like, she's very strong in herself. So that's why she has that, because she's a strong woman. So I understand that what you're saying, like she has that influence for movies. That's why she couldn't say anything about it, because of the strike.
Well, her Timothy, Florence, and Austin both have huge, like I think they're the up and coming Hollywood, right? That's what everybody keeps saying. So a lot of people probably went to go see both part 1 and part 2 because of these actors, not so much being fans of the movie, but or the source material. But like you're saying, Nomi, she everywhere. No matter, I have friends too. Like, if Zendaya's in it, I'm watching it, no matter what it is. Which I think is a little creepy, but that's my opinion. I don't know. But yeah,
no, they really. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna speak about her differences in the book too.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, it's they really did mess her up, and it was such a, like Elaine was saying, it was such a beautiful romance that they had together, and they completely cut that out. You don't get any of it. I don't even see where they even fell in love in the second part either. Like, she doesn't feel like she's in love with him ever. And then the parts where I guess she's supposed to be trying to be tender with him, or she sounded bored when he was having when he was having the nightmares and she was trying to comfort him. She was just like, I'm here. Like, don't worry, I'll always be here with you. You don't get the, like, is that how she talks to Tom Holland, her actual boyfriend?
Probably.
I will say, as a Zoomer, being around other Zoomers and stuff like that, I've seen the types of relationships you're talking about, Lily, but this type of stuff is also not too out of the ordinary, at least from what I've seen.
I also thought the sex scene, or the post-sex scene, or whatever, was awkward. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of threw me out, because they're both so very young looking, and I understand Paul is very young in the books and stuff, but when you read a book, I feel it's different than seeing it. And I think it was Lily or somebody said, where Timothy has chemistry with her, but it's not the same, vice versa. I looked at my husband and I was like, it feels like I'm watching teenagers, and I'm like,
I didn't believe it.
She's so aggressive. Like Shadow was saying earlier, it's because she's supposed to be the softer side of this bond that they both have together. If she's aggressive and she's bringing all that to the table too, then what's the point then of having her be his companion and be the side that kind of grounds him and brings him back to his human side? I don't get it. The part where they're attacking and he's trying to give her the advice, oh yeah, shoot it when they're shooting back at us. That's when it's the weakest. And she turns around and she goes, I know. You're okay, well, he's just telling you, dude, relax. Damn.
And not only that,
because she's the modern woman.
Yeah,
she's not Chani, the Fremen. She is Zendaya, the modern woman, playing a Fremen.
And then and you're right. We're talking about we're looking at them as almost teenagers, is because the characters that they were directed for or scripted for, it seems very teenager-esque. Like Chani's, or Zendaya's version of Chani is very teenager-esque, very like pouty, very, has some, it's not mature or anything in how to handle the situation. Now Timothy Chalamet in this version, this Dune Part 2, you can definitely tell he tried to make his character grow up. Like you can tell that he had a heck of a lot more care into his character and how he he actually had a journey, a change, a transformation, versus Zendaya's Chani just seems very like it doesn't seem like she's grown up. So it's very it's I don't know. There's some stunt going on. It's just weird.
Yeah, it seemed like she didn't understand the Fremen, and I think if she had, she'd understand her character.
Yeah,
but it felt like she just didn't understand the role she was set to play. And so to have these sort of like teenager-esque moments, it's like you live on Arrakis. No one lives there. There's like 100 different things that can kill you at any given moment, and this is what the life that you've grown up in. Death is a part of life, and she's probably killed 10 dudes before breakfast. It's like, and took their water. Like we literally saw her take a dude's water while he was still twitching, I think, when he's still alive. And then even before that, we see her in battle. We see her be this warrior. But then it didn't make sense to me when she was just pouty over Paul accepting Irulan, clearly for just solely a political alliance. And I feel like this is probably where the book just shines even more. They had years together, and this has just been a few months. So it's just a few months that they've had this relationship, and it feels like it. It feels like they don't have that strength. And I feel like Timothy's doing his best, but he's really carry it. But you really need this other half, and it's just not. It didn't convince me. But other people can appreciate her performance. It's just not me. I just wasn't feeling it.
Was this to your point? The way that the book ends, like the very last lines are so cool, and like that didn't translate into the movie, which is that Jessica, a lot of people fail to realize, is that Jessica's not actually Leto's wife. She's the concubine. And that's what Jessica explains to Chani, like at the end of the book too, is like, yeah, she's gonna have the title of wife, but like he loves you, and you're gonna be a concubine. Like we're the ones that are actually the ones that kind of have the power.
Come on top.
So yeah, that kind of didn't translate in the movie, because obviously they changed it to where Chani's like, which I don't understand. She gets there all angry, and then like she's all like, this isn't over yet. And then you're like, okay, what the hell? And then all of a sudden they have this knife fight. She's so like, oh my God, don't die. But then as soon as it happens that he wants to get together with the princess, now all of a sudden she's like,
well, here's the thing. This is what you're just saying on that, like one particular scene. I was like, girl, like Chani, just shut up, dude. Because before he called Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken to come inside, he went up to Chani. He's like, I will love you until my last breath. He was reassuring her, I love you. And then when you do the fight scene and everything, and he's like, yeah, like she's gonna be my bride, and Chani's like all dramatic and everything. Girl, he just told you, like right there and then, he's doing it for political status. He's doing it for a political move. And this benefits him well. You're still gonna win at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I don't know. I just didn't buy it. Again, she's the right, and it's a completely 180 of, in my opinion, of what the character is in the book. I know they go to have children and such, and I understand from the point of view it's a political move, right, to marry the princess, to get control of things. But I don't know. I'm with you, Elaine. I didn't like Zendaya's. In both of them, granted she was only in for like 5 minutes in the first one. Like you're saying, there's a lot more important things to worry about than some dude on a planet that's gonna kill you at every second. All right, so let's get. Does anybody else have any further thoughts, or we're gonna get into box office numbers for it?
No, I think we can move on to the numbers.
And our numbers expert speaks up. Man.
Box office number.
Where are we with box office? Do you want me to share it, or you just gonna
Go
what do you
ahead
want
and
me to do?
share it. I just
Okay.
found it very interesting. I have two. I put in two websites, of course, in the document of like just to make sure that we had two different sources going on of what the box office numbers look like. And I think was it the domestic? People can correct me, but I think the domestic was 82.5 million the first domestic weekend, and then
Yeah.
overall for globally it was 100. I can't remember the first weekend, but yeah. So far, domestic for all releases currently is 104 million, and now including the globally it is 204 million. So we're heading into the second weekend. What is what are everybody's thoughts going forward? Because clearly we have people on panel like Lily, Nomi, and Elaine who are seeing it multiple times, and not everyone's going to see it multiple times, but what are your predictions? What are your thoughts going into this weekend? What's the general feel from conversations and what have you? What the second weekend may look like? Is there going to be a drop off? Do you think it's going to be a healthy drop off? Do you think it's going to be scary?
I think it's going to be it's going to pick up again because you guys know there's schools that are on spring break already.
That's true.
Yeah, so college students may be coming home and wanting to watch it with their friends or their family back home. So I think it's going to be increasing from here.
I don't know. Kung Fu Panda is out.
Oh
Yeah.
God, no,
I've
Kung
heard
Fu
some positive
Panda.
things about that, sadly.
I
No.
forgot about that, Elaine.
And then not only that, Elaine, homegirl. I'm actually really pissed that they announced that Kung Fu Panda 5 is confirmed, and I just wanted to die.
Don't you dare say that.
It was good at 3. We didn't need a 4th one at all. And the fact that they're confirming 5 is like, guys, it needs to end.
Let me guess, you're also not hyped for Shrek 5.
That one I actually am hyped for.
Is there really a Shrek 5?
No,
Yeah,
there's a Shrek 5 that's
They're
coming
trying to do
out.
another Shrek movie.
I know there's
Yeah.
a Toy Story 5 now. Is that
No,
where we're at now?
I'll say this and then we'll go back to Dune because
Sorry.
I love animation. I love cartoons. I love cartoon movies. So as far as Shrek 5, if you've seen Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, at the end of the scene, they're going on to the next adventure and they're going back to far, far away land where Shrek and Princess Fiona's at. So it's only implying that Shrek 5's coming.
Cinematic universe. The next one.
Yes.
I mean, Elaine is correct on this. The only big movie coming out is Kung Fu Panda. I mean, there's other ones like there's another Angel Studios one. There's a horror movie coming out called Imaginary. But yeah, it's not competing with much in the theaters. So I think.
And as far as Imaginary, I do want to see it. I was listening to Film Threat yesterday because they had the director on, and I'm already sold. I was sold on the preview, and then hearing the director talk on Film Threat, I'm going to go see it opening night.
Yeah, there's not, other than like small indie stuff like that. I think there's the Ghostbusters is really the other than Kung Fu Panda. Not gonna knock anybody for watching that, but Ghostbusters is really the only thing coming out this month. Really, that's like I would see as a big blockbuster of a movie, other than like some indie stuff. There's Late Night with the Devil, Imaginary. There's Bob Marley's biopic as well. So I could see them potentially picking up, especially by word of mouth. And again, because of how young the cast is and how much of a draw they have, people might go see it over the weekend.
Well, two things to consider as well is first, this is one of those like few movies that people will probably actually purchase for their own use on, say, Apple TV or even physical copies.
That's true.
And also the first movie as well. And then second, a lot of people were probably avoiding the movie theaters specifically because financially, like, okay, do I want to watch a movie that may suck? But then also like a lot of people being worried about like seeing content that they don't really care about. But now that like the news is this is a good solid film being spread across Twitter, being spread across YouTube, being spread across word of mouth, that'll probably pick up. Are we going to see another 100 million? Maybe. Are we going to see a lot more? I don't really know. It just depends on how much people are willing to spend. But I don't think we're going to have, like, say, The Rings of Power, where you have this week and then it's gone the next week because everyone realizes it's garbage.
I will
I
say to your point, Shadow, too, that reminds me, one thing I wanted to bring up on my review in the beginning of it, I am very anti-CGI. I absolutely hate when movies use majority of CGI for films. Anybody who knows me knows that I have a gripe with it. Coming from a special effects and practical background for Hollywood, hate it. I think it's supposed to be used how this movie uses it. It doesn't take you out of it, both part 1 and 2. Obviously, there's a lot of CGI, but I feel that the story, the pacing, there's some problems, but I feel other things are able to be focused in where the CGI is forgiven, right? It's a little bit more realistic. It's not supposed to be the draw to the movie. That's my 2 cents. Sorry,
Yeah, they
Meg. Go
definitely
ahead.
planned. That's what they said in the production crew, that they did a lot of planning and everyone knew their job, and so that's that's a big part of it.
so
Especially with a sci-fi film too.
I'm trying to remember and recall, and sorry, my headache is making me fuzzy things in my brain. But does anybody recall what the budget was for this?
Oh, I think
Snooze
it's on
said
the
it in the
other
chat,
thing.
190.
Yeah, Smooth said 190.
190, and it's already made 200 globally. If it made 190,
This one?
They're saying it's they'll have to make 500 million to break even.
yes, and probably that's break even, probably not without interest and other factors and fees involved. So I'm thinking it's going to be having to be about 600 to 700 million to
Yeah, 700 million is the number I heard being tossed around by a few people.
yeah. So it's
Which
it's
I
going
think
to
it
have.
could do it reasonably.
Yeah, I think it could do it reasonably, especially if where there's no competition, and if I mean, I feel like like, I don't know about y'all, but my feeling is Dune 2 is going to hit the sweet spot for general audiences. I don't,
Yes.
I didn't think it felt that way for Dune 1, even though I enjoyed that better. But for me, I feel like Dune 2 is going to hit that sweet spot for general audiences. And I think it's going to, even if some people are, going to be confused by it, by some things, I feel like the vibe, the energy, what I'm seeing online, what I'm seeing in real life, and everything else in conversation, it feels like there's a lot more buzz for it amongst the general population. So I have a strong feeling that it will hit that break even point.
Do you
About
think it'll hit billions at some point?
see, last weekend I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna hit 1 billion, blah blah blah. And the more I think about it, I don't know. I think it's gonna be close, but I think it's gonna be. I'm just gonna say prediction. It's gonna be 935 million. 935 million is gonna.
That's
But does it make a difference that the first weekend is actually a 50% increase from the first movie?
Well, the thing is, the last factor you have to think about too is that the Dune 1 was also in theater and on streaming at the same time. So that is hard to factor in, considering that it was a dumb move on their part to stream it at the same time as they released it in theater, because I think it hurt it in the theater. So that's a kind of a hard factor to compare, because you almost have to have an asterisk by it. Because of that very reason. But it could mean good things. I don't know. I don't know what it'll be interesting. What the thing is, the second weekend is always telling what kind of legs it has. So we'll see.
I think it also brings back the movie-going experience. I'm kind of hoping this relights the fire that we want to go to the theaters. We want to, grab our little
This is a
popcorn.
cinema experience. You have to see it in theater. Like that is my thing. I think that's what everybody has been saying. It is a theater experience you don't want to miss. Like that is just something we cannot, at least for me, I cannot express it. Like this was if you want to rate experience, this was 100,000% awesome in the theater. So I'm sorry to cut you off, Nadia. I just needed it.
Shadow, before we go, Elaine is gonna thank you so much, Elaine, for joining us today. I really appreciate your knowledge on this. We really enjoyed. If people are looking to find you, where can they find you?
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was really nice getting to meet some of you and getting to chat with a couple of you again. So thank you again for having me on and the chat as well. Thanks for the love. But you can find me here on YouTube at Nerd Cookies. I cover a variety of sci-fi and fantasy news and lore. But of course, Dune, if you're looking to get into the lore of it and want to learn more, or just like brush up on that, I've got a pretty large Dune lore playlist, so you can check that out. And of course, you can find me on social media at Nerd Cookies. Thanks again, guys. This is awesome.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Thanks,
come back
Elaine.
again.
You're invited
Thank you,
anytime.
Elaine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely come back.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
All right, Shadow. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just trying to bring it up because she said she had to leave like 5 minutes ago, and I didn't
Oh.
see an affirm to that.
I
So
didn't
I know
either.
a lot of people don't check private chat, so I just didn't know if you had seen it or not. My apologies for assuming.
All good. All good. All right. I know we only have about 30 minutes left. We have Dune talked out. I have a little Dune trivia. Do you guys want to play?
Sure.
Oh my gosh.
Or is there a
Wow.
topic you want to talk about first
Everyone's
before we
gonna,
get into it?
fail. Just kidding.
I'll probably fail worse.
It's
All
okay.
right, so Shadow, you're gonna carry us on this trip.
Yeah, I
right?
think Shadow's gonna.
First off, I have a couple of facts that I looked up. So Herbert was actually inspired by the Oregon sand dunes. He did magic mushrooms to simulate his imagination. My guy.
I mean, I can understand that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
mushrooms inspired the eyes of the Freeman. It's the same color of blue. Also, the sandworm and the magic spice, and the female spiritual warriors, which is more in the book. So Herbert was deeply concerned about the environment, which I think you can see in at least the first adaptation, right? The part one, obviously in the books too. He borrowed words from different languages, particularly from mid-19th century Muslim tribes and the expansion of Russian Empire, like those. And I'm not even going to attempt to say these languages.
Chocolate.
I'm gonna.
Candy.
Somebody in our
Oh,
chat's gonna be like,
yeah.
"Hey, I'm from there." Like, it took him over 6 years to complete the book. And many printing houses would actually declined it, except for one, Chilton Books, which is actually known prior to Dune for an auto repair manual. So that was their first novel to it. So
That's cool.
all right, let's get into trivia. What is the name? And I'll give chat too, because the answer's on the next slide. What is the name of the religious order in Dune that possesses supernatural powers? Is
C.
it A?
See.
Yeah,
It's the Atreides.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
obviously C.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
said it was a D.
Atreides.
That's a D. Okay. Which C? C1 or C2, Tommy?
Bene
Listen,
Gesserit.
I was doing this really late at night. Okay.
No, you're good.
Pudding.
Yeah, Bene Gesserit, technically the Mentats, but the Bene Gesserit.
And you are correct.
Yep.
Bene
Bene
Gesserit are a
Gesserit.
group- Yeah, in powerful social, religious, political force is described as an exclusive sisterhood whose members are trained their bodies and minds through years of physical and mental conditioning to obtain superhuman powers and the ability to see magical to outsiders. Yeah. All right. That's a point to everybody on the panel and for most of everybody in the chat. Very nice. All right. Next question. In Dune, who is the Imperial Judge of Change? There is a hint on this slide, so I'm just.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know the answer.
Oh yeah. Okay. A.
Yeah, okay. I know. It
Yeah.
took me a second because I thought it was the guy from like when they're on Caladan, the black dude on Caladan, who's like the Emperor's voice says, and then Leto takes it. But then I remember, no, that's just
Jameis?
the what?
What's everybody's guess?
No, it's
A.
not James.
I'm gonna say
Yeah, it's
A.
A.
It's A. Dr. Kine.
A, yes. It was played by I forgot what her name was in the beginning, but it's actually a dude in the books, so they did change it, and actually, I believe the father of Shani too
Yes.
in the books.
That's
as well.
another thing I didn't like that they took out of the movie.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there you go. Who I like this father of Shani, who became a concubine of the Emperor Paul Atreides. All right, next question.
Spoilers.
What is the name of the personal force field used by characters in Dune?
C.
Shahul.
Okay.
Shadu, no. Don't believe him.
If he wants C, that's fine.
I'm
I'm not
committing
keeping
to C.
tabs. I just thought this would be fun. We got A in the chat. A. What does everybody think?
For the
Oh,
meme,
totally
for the memes,
B.
C.
B.
It's such a
Totally
fun
B.
name.
Shield? Wow.
Shield.
So creative.
I'm gonna go with A.
I'm gonna go with D. I'm just kidding.
A defensive shield, commonly referred to and sometimes as the Holtzman shield, which I had a misspelling in the other one, was a protective energy field that could surround the person who wore it.
Dang it.
Should
All
you
right.
tell everybody what Shai Hulud is?
Oh, sure. Who wants to take that?
Go ahead, Shadu.
Well, it's the next question.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Okay, yeah. There you go. Oh, there you go.
So the answer is
I
totally
think
D.
it's D.
The answer is D.
Oh, it's definitely
The
D.
mentors, yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
A. It's the new band on Dune. They're called the Spice
Spice
Worms.
Worms.
You know, they spice up
No.
your life.
Guys, did you not watch SpongeBob? It's an Alaskan bullworm. That's what it is.
So you got like baby spice, sporty spice, and then this is worm spice.
Yeah.
Wormy spice.
Wormy spice.
So, Shah Halud, is that how you say it? Shah
Shah
Halud.
Yeah.
Halud. You would Shah Khalud. You would think because I'm Arabic, I would know how to do this. Is a Freeman term for the sandworms of Arrakis. As many of the Freeman's term in words, it's more than a descriptive term for the physical entity. So I had to search.
Oh.
This is listen. When you search sandworms, you got to be very particular what you put in your Google search. Okay, you got to
I'll
put
take your word
Dune
for it.
sandworms. All right,
Oh.
otherwise other things will come up. I
Ugh.
think 10. What is the governing body that represents all of the noble houses in Dune? This should be easy because we talked about it today.
I love this name. I absolutely love this thing's name.
Come on.
I want to say
It's
D.
D. Landsraad. Landsraad. Wait,
Yeah.
however you want to pronounce it.
Are we going with D?
I'm going
No,
with
it's
D.
the Landsraad.
Mhm.
Shadow's like, I knew it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
The Lanceret is the body that represents all of the great houses, founded long before. I have no idea what that is.
Butlerian Jihad. Basically, the Terminator films, but worse.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's why they don't use machines. That's why they either
Yes.
use thinking machines. That's why they either use things that make this look like a Cortana, or they use people.
Yep. So yeah, that's all of them, guys. It was really simple, really easy. I wanted to put it together. I thought that would be kind of fun.
It was fun.
Nice.
So let's talk about one last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. Do you guys want to talk about Butler? Okay. Which one do you want? The improvised scenes?
I'm all
We're
done.
mainly asking Lily here.
I am. I'm totally asking Lily on this one.
Yep.
Yes, obviously. Just kidding.
So it is confirmed that he improvised, which by the way, I didn't find it creepy. Like it didn't take me out of the movie, so I don't know why people think it's creepy. Thank you for
So
these.
many ads.
Be-
Yeah, I was like, whoa, the ads. That's
because a lot of people in modern, again, I keep bashing modern America, but it's basically that's what it is. They find it uncomfortable because it's an older man and a younger man, and then the fact that they're related. These are not mentally stable or good people, and they're also not from American culture. Please, stop applying our.
I don't know. Shadow, have you ever been to Alabama?
Alabama is a freak offshoot. I'm speaking in the aggregate.
I will say though, coming from a Middle Eastern family, we kiss family members like on the cheek and stuff. Like my dad will
Mhm.
greet his cousin and kiss them on the cheek. So it
That's
is
the same thing.
custom in
Italian
other
culture.
cultures. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's custom in other cultures. It's just not custom
Exactly.
in American culture.
Yeah.
Unless again, if you're from Alabama, like Nomi said.
Well, that's not the cheek.
Rachel, that's very true.
That's a different kind of cheek
What?
you're talking about.
I mean,
No.
it's kind of cool because even Stellan Skarsgård, who I believe is one of the best actors ever, was super impressed with Austin. He gave him a lot of credit because he was like, I was not expecting for him to grab me and kiss me back. He's like, that was not planned. He's like, and I'm just very he did so many things that he improvised. Like the voice is actually something that Austin came up on his own too. I don't know if you guys know this, but like he played Elvis Presley in the movie that came out last year, Elvis. He got so much like hate and backlash because people said that even after the movie finished filming, he was still speaking like Elvis. So I think that was probably something that he had in his mind when he was trying to find who this character was, is that if he just kind of used his own voice, people were still gonna like say crap about it. So he thought the way that he should go for it is because, like, obviously the Baron is his uncle. He's the person that he would have been around the entirety of his life. He was raised by him. And that would have a lot of influence over who he is as a person. And that's when he decided to start working on his voice sounding like Stellan's. And he actually came up with it with his voice coach, and Stellan had no idea. So when they both came up on set, and Austin started talking like that, like Stellan was just like taken aback, like, whoa, how did you manage to sound just like me? He's like, this is kind of creepy that you're freaking me out that you sound exactly like me.
I mean, we have to appreciate the fact though that we have a young actor who actually cares about his role. Like,
Yes.
You notice that with a lot of these younger actors and actresses, we do nitpick with them because you can tell that they seem either bored, like Zendaya with Johnny. But then you have somebody like Butler who really cares about his role and cares about being in that character. So it's, I highly appreciate that.
They're no Rachel Zegler.
And he's a method actor. So he said for this that he was really he had to draw a line between him and the character, because for Elvis he completely like immersed himself in the character becoming Elvis. And for this, obviously he's playing somebody who's very psychotic and evil, and I mean you don't want to go like the Jared Leto route and torture your co-stars. So he said that he had to draw like a very hard line of, okay, when I'm on set, and I've got like the makeup on and everything, I'm Fade. But as soon as I step out of this, like I'm not going to continue this, because I mean it messes with your psyche. So that's he did well on this.
That's what happened to Heath Ledger. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I just want to know what his skincare routine is, because man is looking moist as can be, even with that bald cap.
No blemish to be found on that face. God bless.
God, I'm like,
beautiful.
Bro,
I'm jealous.
That's where all the CGI went.
Like pull up a picture of him, like out of the. He's got very pretty skin. I don't know what he does.
It's
I don't
the Getty
trust the
Prime
picture.
Sun. It's the Getty
I don't
Prime
trust
Sun. Not
pictures.
only does it make every person whiter than a Caucasian, but it also does. It's great for the skin.
It's a great
People will
skincare routine.
People will spend trillions of Solaris to go to a Getty Prime beach. That's a headcanon now, at least.
Yeah. Bro, like, tell me your skin. What do you use, man?
I'm
jealous.
you beautiful creature.
He probably uses the same thing for like his hair, his skin.
Yeah, like men do, right?
Lily,
Shadow,
are
is
you-
that what you do?
Yeah, Shadow, is that what you do? You one product for everything?
One soap for everything?
Kind of.
Lily,
Man,
you're
you
gonna
guys
make
have
me
it
simp for this
easy.
man. I'm feeling it. It's coming on. I'm getting it now.
Guys, and then, and then
Elvis
like
is great.
and then listen, it scares me that I found him really hot in this movie. He's freaking psychotic. But like every time he was on screen, I was like, oh. By the end of it, I was even like, this is kind of a good look. Oh yeah, it's good.
I mean,
it's very masculine and aggressive and very dominant. So I mean, it's not, I can see.
Well, now that we're talking like spoilers, the part that Nomi was gonna bring up where he confronts his brother and he like beats his butt basically, and he tells him like kiss my shoe or die. After that scene, I was like, oh.
Well, not only that, like, I was like, take me home, Austin Butler. But like, not only that, not like that.
Nomi, I will fight you first of all.
Where's the knife fight I was waiting for?
Maybe
This is the knife
It doesn't
fight.
matter.
Nice
I
night.
will go at it with you, Lily. Let's go. But
Come on, girl. I've been a fan of his for a very long time.
yeah, no, I'll give that to you. But
Oh, is
another
Ryan? Wait. Is Ryan to the side now? Is Ryan gone? Is he to the side? Is this
We're gonna
now-
put Ken back in the box for a little bit.
Okay. All right, just wondering. Okay.
No.
go ahead.
Lily
My
needs a
other-
different one
Body
every day of the
shaper.
week.
She's got to come.
Yeah, one
She's got
day-
this guy and this guy and this guy, whatever mood she's feeling in.
Yeah.
But my
Little
other
Abby
favorite
can die.
A, B, C.
But my other favorite scene is when they're all gathered, they're about to have the knife fight, and then they're arguing with Paul, and Paul yells out silence to the Reverend Mother, and he's thrown back. He's like, whoa.
Oh yeah,
That was also a nice scene of him too. It was like, oh, another expression that I never saw of him
funny.
like that.
He's still too small. I'm sorry. He looks like he's 12.
Oh.
Well,
I
mean,
feel
they
like
did-
I could take him. Like,
Well, two things, Nadia.
Push him
First,
down the stairs.
they did speed up the timeline, so he is like what, 15, 16 at this point, because it's only 9 months. It's like less than 9 months
yeah.
after
No,
the
I
events of
meant
the first part.
Timothy Chalamet as a whole. Like,
And
he's very.
Oh, yeah.
second, he's a Fremen. He's not going to be big. He's in the book. He is described as being gaunt. You can even see his ribs through the still suit or something like that. Like Fremen are not going. They have to fight for every drop of water they have. They're not going to be these big, strong Norse fighters. They're not even going to look like Myrmidons because their environment is so taxing on their flesh. They're going to be diminutive. They're going to be gaunt, thin. They're not going to be physically strong. They're going to rely on sheer will to exist and duct tape, an excessive amount of duct tape.
Shadow, I've read the books. I'm just talking about Timothy as a whole. I find him very I don't want to say feminine because I don't want to demasculine him, but I
Right.
find him very he's not let me show you what my type
he's
is.
very
Give me 1
boyish
second.
looking.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead
it's
and-
basically
go ahead.
Henry Cavill. Right?
Don't
Yes.
spoil it, Lily.
I'm Nadia. Everybody knows if they watch the show.
Wait, do you mean like in regards to his facial features? Because in regards to the face, yeah, I would absolutely agree. But
No.
in body type, I think he fits what a Fremen lifestyle
Yeah,
would
yes. No, but
Mhm.
him as an actor, I just find like I could push him down the stairs and he'd be like break a
Okay,
hip or
gotcha.
something.
I
Yes.
misunderstood. I apologize.
Anytime
God
like this
king.
year.
God king
Yes.
of nerds.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like my men a little beefy. Like to me, if I had to pick one person out of that whole movie, I pick Javier. I would totally be like, let's go.
Yeah, I
Let's
agree
go.
with you on that.
Yeah. So like but I mean I get it. Everybody is their own. To each their own. Austin, Timothy, whatever. You like what you like, but I gotta feel like he can protect me. I don't feel like he can protect me. So, all right, awesome. I think we're good, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Let everybody
I
kind of
just put
plug where they're
something
gonna
in the
be.
chat.
Oh, what did you put in the chat? Hold on.
Concerned.
A picture.
Oh.
I mean, a
Oh,
video of
okay.
Austin talking about the boys.
Okay, hold on.
I don't know how much you can play of it, but it's like a little short.
Mr. Tickle.
Let's see. I can jump around. 1 second. Let me pull it up.
Oh my god, Mr. Tickle.
He's not wrong.
Oh my god.
The problem
He's
is
not wrong. I can't
Wait,
unsee
here.
that now.
No, I can't unsee it now either.
What did he say? Wait. I'm doing 3 things that. Oh
Shall
no! I'm not
Sand-
highlighting that, but that's pretty funny.
Oh my
It's true,
god.
yeah.
That's so funny.
Okay, all right. Let me see if I
That dawned on me that he would've
can you hear that. I don't think so.
A little bit.
Kinda.
Hold on. Can I turn the volume up? No.
grown up
'Cause-
with the bear. and
Yeah,
the-
it's not coming through my.
my phone. And then
No,
We
but
can
there's
hear it, Nadia.
subtitles.
We can hear
Oh,
it.
you hear this?
feeling that
Yeah, we
moment
can.
And that look, I very
Then why is it
quickly
coming
thought
through my
his
speakers,
voice
not my
needs to be different
headphones?
from mine somewhat.
There we
That
go.
dawned on me that he would have grown up with
Hold on. Let me see if I can
the
pass
bear
it.
and
Can I
the
forward?
bear
Oh, I
and
can't
being
forward
the one
shorts.
who has
Shorts
the
are
power
weird.
And how we
Yeah.
so
Okay.
Some of them you can, some of them you
I don't want to
can't.
be copyrighted on it, but yeah.
Justin
I'll
does-
post.
Really? It's
Huh?
not even like footage. They'll copyright you for this?
through osmosis.
They'll-
probably
yeah.
can't-
Of
yeah.
those people that we grow
It
up
might be. They might be consider it reused content.
It's
Yeah.
corporate
Yeah.
America.
Yeah, it's
Oh
also
my
yeah.
gosh.
Now,
Yeah.
if you put some really really bad music that like talks over him that you can't even hear what he's saying, and you like add a filter, then it's perfectly legally distinct, and you can do whatever you want.
YouTube. You know what? Everybody, go ahead and follow Lily on her Twitter because she'll share it right now on her Twitter.
No.
Okay,
Wow.
never mind. I'll add the.
I'm like, I
I
don't think
don't
all the
follow
guys are gonna
Lily.
want to watch it. They're gonna be like, ugh, why?
Okay,
I mean,
all
we
right.
can
I
just
will.
ignore it.
I'll add it to the links. How about that? I'll add it to the links of stuff we talked about in the below.
I
All
just
right.
wanted to see Austin.
Oh, all you had to do was just there. You go. All you had to do was ask.
Hey, play the one with
got
the
you.
tongue.
The tongue. Okay. Hey, I can send this to you later if you want.
I was like, I can't believe I just heard.
You mean she doesn't already have it?
You know, I was kind of waiting. I was kind of expecting this
Shadow's
30 minutes
face.
earlier.
It's
to be
gone. It's
honest.
gone, Shadow. It's gone. It's gone.
My disappointment
Shadow,
can never be
sorry.
removed.
All right. I want to thank the tank. I want to thank the chat for hanging out today. Everybody's been completely wonderful. I'm gonna let our guest plug himself. Shadow, where are you going to be next?
Howdy, everyone. I'm the Shadow of the Hawk, like I mentioned earlier, or the Shadow Car, because we changed our names halfway through the stream. Tomorrow night, you can find me over on Friday Night's Royal Rumble. Topics, I believe we're going to be talking about like the Doom box office numbers and a few other things. And then after that, on Saturday, you can check me. Am I allowed to show the D&D stream, or are you going to do that?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Tomorrow night, you can on Saturday night, you can find me over on Inside All Day Gaming, where we will be continuing the 1001 Masks D&D campaign with Nadia, Magic Man as the DM, Untamed Mando, Lurkin, Chris, and then myself, as we're trying to figure out what happened to our good, sweet friend Elias, who we didn't really know at all. And then on Sunday, if I have time, you can catch me over on Wheezy Pillar's channel. No clue what they're going to be doing on that stream. I'll just pop in after work if I've got time. And then Monday night, Game of Thrones, we're moving on to season that doesn't exist. Season 8 does not exist. And then you can see me on Twitter, bad takes, good takes, whatever you want. On my coffee page, I'm making original content. And then I've got my YouTube channel, which is linked down below. That's about it. And thank you all for allowing me to be on. This was a great conversation, and I hope I contributed well to it.
You did, Shadow. You'll
did
definitely
great
be
job,
welcomed
Shadow.
back.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Dr. Sandworm.
We go through all
Everybody
the
better
name
be
change
ready.
people. Yeah, everyone
my
change your
God.
name real quick. Hello, I'm Dr. Rachel. You can find me on Twitter at Sauron_cosplay. I don't have anything big coming up other than hopefully a video dropping next week. Project I'm working on, I have right in front of me.
Oh, I'm
Whoa.
so
Nice.
excited.
That's
So
so
it's
cool.
coming along really well. I got to do a little bit more detail work and painting and stuff, but it's coming along really good. So follow me. I try to post updates on my Instagram, Sauron_cosplay, Twitter, already said it. And follow me on my channel, Adeline Crafting. I do all kinds of things where I show off how to make stuff like this, shields, cosplay stuff, or just general art things. And as always, you can find me on this panel every Thursday, talking with these lovely ladies and our wonderful guests.
Very cool. All right. Who's next? Who's next? Who's
Dude,
next?
that is so cool.
We'll do
Thank you.
Mags. Mags.
Hi, I'm Magitech Mags. Of course, I am feels like everywhere all at once. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitch, all of the stuff, all the links. But yes, you can make sure you follow my Twitter just to keep up with any news as well as any status updates of where I will be next. You can usually catch me on Toxic Femininity on Midnight's Edge Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. And wherever else I may go, I will of course post on Twitter where I'm live at, and of course here every Thursday. So thank you to our guests, thank you to chat, and thank you for a wonderful discussion. It's been fun tonight.
Thank you, Mags. Let's go with Lily. Lady Lily. Or Mrs. Butler.
Mrs.
Sorry.
Well, Shadow already said that we're doing the Game of Thrones stream on Monday, and then back on Legion Talk for Friday's FNR. And then of course Thursdays here, we're talking about all kinds of super cool stuff. So hopefully you guys all come back. And then I'm doing some shorts for Midnight Edge Espanol. We've got some other stuff coming up as well. What else? I think that's about it for now. Yeah, just follow me on Twitter too. I promise I'm not gonna post a bunch of pictures of Austin Butler. I promise. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. But yeah, that's probably about it. And thank you to Shadow and Elaine for being here, and all of the lovely ladies. This was a really fun stream.
And last but surely not least, Mrs. Nomi.
Sorry, guys. Hi. I'm Nomi Without You. I have a video coming up on Monday. I am probably not going to be on Abyssal Musings tomorrow. It's a big maybe. I'm everywhere in real life. You can follow me on Twix. That's where I'm usually at, lurking. And I'm also on Midnight's Edge Espanol, and I'll be making shorts there. And yeah, that's where you can catch me.
Very cool. And then last but not least, myself. I am Nadia. I host the Inside All Day podcast channel, which this is streaming on. You can find me on Twitter at NerdDollface. Let's see what we have next. We have 1001 Masks over at the Inside All Day Gaming channel this Saturday. I also will be dropping a new episode of The Laundry next week. You can also find me almost every Wednesday night on Zax's What's Good Wednesday. And next week for Dames and Dorks, we have the folks from the Criticless website. So please go check them out as well. It's, I think, a great alternative to Rotten Tomatoes and Letterboxd for reviews. I want to thank our guest, Elaine. Thank you so much for showing up today. And Shadow, you guys were a blast to have this discussion about Dune. Everybody's links will be in the description. And thank you to our mods as well today. Thank you guys for watching the chat. I think this was an excellent show. Until then, I hope everybody has a great night. And one last thing for Lily. On that note, everybody have a good night.